Okay, so this week we're talking about ratios and unit rates. We've done some of this before, so it might look familiar. Hopefully it looks familiar. First question, which ratios in each pair are equivalent and how do you know? So I prefer to write them as fractions. And what we want to see is if these two things are the same. So I said that they're equal, now we got to prove that they're equal. So if we can make the denominator the same, a common denominator, then we can test to see if they're the same. So I can make 15 into 60 by multiplying by 4. So if I multiply the top by 4, would I get 48? That's true, I do. 12 times 4 is 48. 15 times 4 is 16, so that means it's equivalent. That's true. Let's see for B. 3 to 2 means the same thing as 3 over 2. And I have 25 over 16. Okay, how would a 2 turn into a 16? Well, I would multiply by 8. If I multiply the top by 8, do I get 25? No, I would get 24. So that means this is not equal because I would get 24. I should get 24 over 16 in order for it to be equal. But I have 25 over 16. So they're not equal. So this is equal. This is not equal. Okay, another way of testing to see if they're the same is if I take 12 over 15 and I divide and I compare the decimal for the two things, then I can see if they're the same. So this is 0.8 and 48 divided by 60. If I get the exact same decimal, which we already know that we should, which is 0.8, they are equal to each other. Now, if you do the same thing with B, you'll see that you'll get different decimal answers, so they're not the same. Number 2, a lemonade is made with water and concentrate. So 2 different things put together. The concentrate is what gives it the flavor. The water is what gives it the volume. Which pitcher has the stronger lemonade? That explain how you know. So for A, pitcher A, we have 4 parts concentrate to 3 parts water. So the more concentrate it has, the stronger it's going to be, but it also compared to the water. So if I compare concentrate to our total, we can see which one has more concentrate. So 4 parts concentrate and 7 parts total, because there's 4 concentrate and 3 water. Together that makes 7. For B, we have 3 parts concentrate and 5 parts total. Now, they're still not the same. I can't compare them because the denominators are different. But if I get a common denominator, so if I multiply this by 5, which means I multiply the top by 5, I get 20 over 35. So if I multiply this by 7, I get 21 over 35. So we got a common denominator, 35 and 35. So we can see that in pitcher B, there's 21 parts of concentrate, so just a little more than there is in pitcher A. So that means that pitcher B is stronger. Okay, so get a common denominator and then compare the two. The key there is to look at the total. Okay, concentrate to total. So you add the 2 parts up. Number 3, a 7,500 kilo African elephant eats about 200 kilos per day. A 5,000 kilo African elephant eats about 150 kilos per day. Is the amount of food an elephant eats proportional to its mass? Explain its reasoning. So they want to know, are these two things proportional? Proportion just means two ratios that are equal to each other. So let's look at the amount of food. So the mass of the food and the mass of the elephant. I find it's helpful to write your ratios out in words first so that you'll keep the right numbers where they're supposed to go. So the 7,500 kilo African elephant, right? It weighs 7,500 kilos. It eats 200 kilos per day. And then there's the African elephant, that's 5,000 kilos. It eats 150 kilos per day. And we want to figure out, is this proportional? Are they equal to each other? If they're not equal to each other, then it's not proportional. So for this, we could get a common denominator, but I think the easier thing to do is to divide and compare the decimals. So 200 divided by 7,500 is 0.267. So I rounded to 267. So 150 divided by 5,000 is 0.03, which is not equal. So it's not proportional. Okay, the decimals aren't exactly the same. So if I rounded the first one, I would have gotten 0.3. Sorry, I think I messed up the number there. This is 0.0267. Okay, so if I had rounded to 0.03, then it looked like it's the same. That's why I did 4 decimal places, just to make sure that they are not the same. Okay, so determine the value of each variable. So we want to figure out what the unknown is there. A couple ways to do this. I'll go through each way. Again, I like to write it as fractions rather than the colon ratio like that. So one way is to figure out, how does a 3 change into a 24? So if I divide 24 by 3, I get 8, which means that 3 times 8 is 24, which means that I'd also have to multiply the top by 8 to get that other number. It has to be multiplied by the same number. So 5 times 8 would be 40. So that means that n is 40. Okay, so I'm going to skip B and go to C. Another way to do this, especially since this isn't so easy to say, okay, 16 times what would be 12, or 12 times something is 16. It's not so easy to figure out how I would go back and forth between it. So here we're going to use cross multiplication. So cross multiplication, which again we've covered before. It's called cross because we cross over the equal sign. So this 4 is going to travel up the arrow and multiply with the 12. That y is going to travel up the arrow and multiply with the 16. So on the left side, since the y is traveling up the arrow, I get 16 times y, which is 16y. On the other side, I get 4 times 12, which is 48, but I'll just write 4 times 12. So 16y is equal to 48. And then we're going to divide out the 16 because that's how we solve for y. And we get that y is equal to 3. So we've solved for y now. Okay, so that's called cross multiplication. Another way that we could have done that was to say, okay, so 4 times 4 would be 16. So that ratio needs to be maintained. So 16 divided by 4 is 4, which means 12 divided by 4 is 3. So we could have done that as well. The thing is with cross multiplication, this method works for any of these ratios that are unknown. Okay, that was review. We had done that before, so you can go back and look at some of that stuff. Unit rates. Again, something we've talked about before. So what we want to do is figure out the goal, or in this case, the goals per game. So the 50 goals scored in 25 games, I mean, we want to figure out how many goals they score in one game. So it's per one thing, whatever it is, games, hours, kilos, whatever the thing is that we're talking about. So this is pretty easy. We take the goals and we divide by the number of games. So 50 divided by 25 means 2 goals per game. $400 earned in 40 hours. Well, let's divide it. 400 divided by 40 hours makes $10 per hour. So just keep the units there. Goals per game, dollars per hour. $5 for 10 CDs, whatever those are, right? So 5 divided by 10 means 50 cents for one CD. $2.37 for 3 kilograms. What is it for 1 kilo? Well, divide it. 2.37 divided by 3 is 79 cents for 1 kilogram. Okay, last one. Cereal comes in 3 sizes: 500 grams for $2.99, 650 for $3.69, and 800 grams for $4.29. So we want the unit price for each box. So we take the price and we divide by the number of grams. So we're going to get a small number here, but that's okay. I can still compare the number. So don't round, get a few decimal places because they're going to be pretty close in number. So 369 divided by 650. Zero, 5, 6, 8. $4.29 800 grams. Okay, so this means that much money for 1 gram. So we can't really break money down into that small amount, but it's just helpful for us to compare. So that's A. Which box would be the best buy? Well, whichever one's cheapest. And we can tell that this is the lowest one. So just looking at which one has the lowest number, 536 is lower than 568 and 598. So box C. It's cheapest. that's it.